There you go. There she is. All
The
right,
teacher
you made
is
it.
in the end of the year brain.
There you go. Hey, I can't say I know how it is, but I can only imagine how it is.
Brain is fried at the end of the year, but I'll make it. We're
Yeah.
making it.
All right, sweet, sweet. All right, before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who sends us a video, all the teachers and educators to help us promote this conversation about writing is super important that we keep it going, right? The conversation about education, being in books and reading and engaging about books and literature is super important. So huge shout out to everybody who helped and engaged and shared and liked. Awesome, awesome.
Yes.
So,
Thank you guys. We're looking forward to hearing more in the future as
yes,
well.
absolutely. All right. So let's start this conversation. So, Becky, I know you, but who are you, Becky?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, who am I? I'm a child of God.
There we go.
First and foremost, I know who I belong to. I'm in the process of a healing journey, so I'm glad to be here on this planet still every day, another day to try again. Just recently, an author in 2024, Breaking Generational Curses. I feel like I'm the first in my family with a children's book and first to do something like this. So I'm excited of, just paving the way for more, the younger generation in my family. Who am I? I'm a mother of a 17-year-old. He's a senior. He's the love of my life. I'm an educator. And so many other things. I'm an artsy fartsy person. I can sit at the park on a hill by myself and be
Love that.
content. So that's a little bit about myself. Who are you, HD?
Whew, man. I am a big kid at heart. I will start there. I also am a child of God, right? But
Mhm.
I'm a big kid at heart. I love telling stories and being involved in them.
Mhm.
I'm a big kid with my wife and my kids together. I love making people feel something, and that's
Mhm.
always been how I've been, even from a kid coming up. Even my current job now is being a leader. I'm a communicator, right?
Mhm.
My job is my job is to help people understand things in a better way, right? So, and I'm also on a healing journey of not trying to be a people pleaser.
Mhm.
So I'm on that. I'm guessing we're all on some type of journey. So that's the
True.
journey that I'm on, and I'm actually the second author in my family. On my dad's side, my grandmother wrote a book before, but I'm the only one that's actually been consistently writing books, and
Mhm.
I surprise myself every time I write another book because the first one still is surreal to me, right? Because
Mhm.
yeah, so but that's who I am. Still growing,
Mhm.
so
I feel like I'll add to that. I do have a sister that published a prayer anthology book. So I'm the first with the children's book. So there, I'm excited to get on part of that author's
love
path.
that.
The writer's path. I've been a writer for a long time, and I have some artifacts to show you.
Ooh, okay, all right, all right. So what inspired you to? Because aren't you a poet as well?
Yes, and that I was going to say that the artsy fartsy on the hill. That's me writing poetry.
So what
Definitely at the park.
inspired you to do all this? Because I'm realizing that a lot of people have a story to tell. They have these gifts, but not
Mhm.
everybody acts on them. It is
Mhm.
can be intimidating at times when you put your thoughts out to the public. What inspired you to do this?
For sure. The poetry has been with me for a long time. I would say like late teens. I used to write songs all the time. I used to have a big song book. It always went through writing about my issues and things that I was going through, sadness, joy, conquering things. It's always about I had to get it on paper.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't write all the time, but when I did write, it was definitely therapeutic and soothing. And then I kind of let it go in my 20s. I had my son at 21, so it's like I definitely was on that trail of like, oh my gosh, I'm a mom. I got to make sure everything is this and this and that. But then I slowed down and began to write again, late 20s, 30s. And so it's like, now I feel like God, that's been my calling this whole time. Like, why sit on that gift? So I've been writing almost every day. I would say every day, but every week this year, I have really been picking it up.
Wow.
Picking it up. Yeah, because it's almost like it's a not an inclination, it's even more than that. It's like I have to do it. I've been sitting on it for, like you said, sitting on it for too
Yeah.
long. Now it's bubbling
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what started it was just me trying to release.
Mm.
Yeah, just release.
That's huge. And I have a follow up. So when you said you had your son at 21,
Mhm.
how did that impact your writing?
Well, not till later when as things progressed in, the hardships of being a single mom, by the time he turned 3, I realized, this is hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a journey where it's not, I'm built for it tough, but Lord, I'm tired of being tough. So I'm writing that stuff out. I'm writing that stuff out like, man, I feel like I became a really hard person in order to survive. My exterior might seem soft or something, but I'm definitely like working on not being a hard person. Working on being softer and more, supple to life. And I think writing helps me to be that, more of my feminine side, more of my relaxed side, less stress. So with my son, the poems became more beautiful because
Mm,
I'm so thankful, the gratefulness of having him in my life. Like, my life would not be the same at all. And I'm so overly thankful. I mean, I have one son and that's it. And I'm so grateful. So I guess my poetry, I feel like, became a little bit more in depth. Even me writing about how things didn't work out with his father, writing about how, I didn't want a single parent home for him because that's how I grew up. I didn't want that same generational thing to happen. And I wrote a poem about just about apologizing for that. I know
wow.
it's out of our control sometimes, but yeah, my next book will be poetry, and that's one of the poems will be about that. What about you? What has inspired you, or do you want to know more
Yeah.
about them?
Uh, so so growing up, I was the kid that I didn't go play out with kids a lot. I played with my action figures the entire time. That was me using my imagination, and partially because I stuttered bad. I still stutter, but I stuttered so bad, my sister had to translate for me a lot of times. Ironically, a lot of things she translated were for her, right? She wanted to for her, so, but the so being that kid that always felt like he was picked last for things, or I was an honorable mention, if you would, right? Always feeling
Mhm.
like that. That's kind of a chip I carried on my shoulder with me. So
Okay.
when so about I 2019, when I got laid off, I wrote a self-help Christian book, and then later that summer, my 14-year-old daughter came,
Mhm.
14 now, then I
Mhm.
think she was 9, came home and she said, I don't like my hair, I'm getting teased, I just want to cut my hair off.
Mhm.
This was before she had locks. She has locks now,
Mhm.
and in my heart, I'm like, man, you're beautiful, like, and for me, I looked at all the content they were watching on Disney Channel, all that stuff, and there
Mhm.
wasn't a lot of reflection of them. And in that moment, I felt that boy, that 12-year-old in me that was like feeling left out and isolated.
Yeah.
Then my wife, who's a brilliant black woman, why don't you write a book? I was
Mhm.
like, I can't write a book. So I sat down, and then every single thing I've seen or
Mhm.
read, every story I've created as a child. That's why allowing kids to be kids and not pushing them to grow up so fast is so important. Because
Right.
I was able to sit down as a kid and really be a kid. I didn't have to. I literally, we was broke. I didn't know that until I became an adult. Like, we was broke. I didn't know that. Like this,
Right.
and I was so protected from that. I was insulated, and I was able to be a
Mhm.
kid.
Mhm.
And I wasn't forced to go socialize. I socialize now, but I wasn't forced to. I was able to just kind of use my imagination. And every single thing I've done or used or read or seen came back to me in that moment. I sat down in front of that computer, and I had that book written fully in about a month. It
Wow.
just wouldn't stop coming out. And the interesting thing is, I was able to create characters that felt like I felt, but didn't have the answer.
Mhm.
So I was able to now vicariously heal myself through these books while also sharing that story with other kids that may feel that same way. So
Wow.
that's the inspiration behind my writing.
So I needed that book. I have one quick story. I was on the bus. I was probably maybe eighth grade. I used to have really, really thick hair on the bus. And I remember a girl touching my hair, and I looked back and she said, "Oh, I didn't know you could feel that." And that stuck with me for
Oh,
years. And I was
oh
like,
my
"Oh,
gosh.
I've got to press my hair. I got to, I don't want it big like this." So I
Oh my
totally
God.
relate to your daughter on that. And that's why that your books are so important.
Yeah, and it's just like normalizing and saying out loud the things that culturally that
Yeah.
we deal with, right? Like
Exactly.
people, I've had to have conversations with all three of my girls. No one gets to touch your hair but mommy and daddy. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless your
Mm-hmm.
hair is being done, no one gets to touch it. And these are concepts like the entire first book is hair themed.
Yeah.
Everything is about hair in the whole book,
Yeah.
and it's just about. And I think culturally that says something when we start protecting ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And that's what that I feel like I needed that. I grew up in Indiana, and so I mean I was probably like the second or the only like the second like black girl in the class. You know what I'm saying? So I do remember feeling like ostracized and feeling like so different,
Mm,
and like where do I
mm,
fit in? You know what I'm saying? Then I would go see my people on the weekends at church, and then I talk white. You know, and you go to school, you're
yeah,
not white enough, you're not black enough. So I totally understand. That's another book for another concept for a book. Just finding your true self. You don't have to fit into these categories of whatever that looks like. What does talking black look like? Having black hair is beautiful. Like no matter who you are, you know what I mean? Accepting yourself and loving yourself since day one. I mean, that's why like I said, that's why your books are important. I didn't have that. I never
yeah,
had a book at school where I could say, oh, okay, I am beautiful. This is okay. I am okay the way I am. It was always, gosh, I don't fit into these stereotypes or,
yeah.
yeah.
And I think culturally that's important because even myself growing up, I was considered to be a geek, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
comic books, superheroes, all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And now it's more they're the whole black movement in that area, which I think is beautiful.
I
But
love it.
growing up, that wasn't there for me either. So it's
Mm-mm.
kind of like you were kind of left out of that.
Yeah.
So just creating more, and I think it's not about us fitting; it's about us creating an environment
Right.
together
Right.
where that necessarily doesn't matter. You can
Mm-mm.
just be, you
Just
know.
be. Yeah, I agree with you. So, what have been some of the challenges as a writer as you go through, these stories that are in your mind that you're creating and making them into a reality?
I've got two challenges,
Okay.
just two. The first challenge is finding the time to write. That is
Mm,
the first challenge, and I've become more patient with the not having enough time to write
mm-hmm.
because I'm realizing that a lot of the content, a lot of the creativeness I come from is derived from being with my family, dealing with those challenges, seeing them grow, seeing myself grow, perspective and things like that. So when I sit down to write, I'm full of I'm full of everything I need to put down because I've gained that. At first, I used to fight, but I used to honestly at times I used to view my kids as you're interrupting me from writing. When
Mm-hmm.
in actuality, they are the inspiration behind every single word that I've ever written. So being
Exactly.
able to mature in a way where you realize God puts these people in your life to grow you in the best parts of
Mm-hmm.
you, and they're not there to they're not there to make you look better. They're there to make you be better. So
Exactly.
that's the first challenge is time. The second challenge is 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 sticking to one story. There's
Okay.
I currently finished a Christian dystopian teen book. My daughter loves the Hunger Games and things like that. So I was like, why don't I
Okay.
write a Christian book? I wrote it and I need to read through it again, but also
Um,
I'm finishing up this current series that I'm on and I have one
mhm.
more book to write that I started already again. So I have
Okay.
like a book and a half on hold and then a completed book and I'm like, okay, where do I go from here sometimes?
Mhm.
And this I have so many different projects not finished and being conscious of the timing of when to work on a project because I sometimes like for things to be complete
Mhm.
and that's something my kids have drilled out of me because with kids things stop, things pause, play, whatever. I can't
Mhm.
always complete a complete piece of work. Sometimes I have to come back to it and that may come with a fresh set of eyes, but sometimes go back and forth between projects and I've got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
So that's the other challenge, being okay with stopping a project and beginning a new one, but
Mhm.
also being able to circle back and work on multiple projects because that's really what life is, right? Life will put you in a spot where you're forced to pivot. And if
Yep.
we don't pivot, we're gonna lose all sense of direction.
Exactly. I would say one of my challenges for years have been just me sitting down and not pushing forward, just sitting down and not pushing forward. So, for example, like
Ooh, That's good. That is good. That's good. That is good. I
Yeah,
love that.
it's kind of deep because I'm stopping my own healing process. The fact that I write helps me heal. So something, I guess you could say the enemy, I don't know what you want to say, but even myself, I'll admit myself, has allowed myself to sit on the gift for so long to the point where I have all these ideas. I'll write all these little sticky notes. I have all these different things on my desk, but nothing is getting done. Or I'll just keep these ideas on my phone recorded. So for me, I'll admit I stagnated myself over the years. I could have been published many books, but I realize that now that I held myself back from my healing journey because writing does heal me. Like I said, a lot of my stuff with poetry is me talking about how I've overcome something. Well, something is stopping me from writing that down because it wants me to stay in that mindset of you're not going to progress. You're not going to evolve. You're still going to, replay all the disappointments you've had in life. But when I write it down, it's like I free myself from it. So for me, I can admit over the years, I've not pushed forward on my gift. And now that I'm pushing forward, I'm meeting people like you and other individuals who are in pursuit of something greater. And I have the same, audacity, you could say, because, you would think, oh, who am I? Well, you're somebody special too. You have a story to tell. Everybody has something that, like you said earlier, something that they can bring to the earth to enrich somebody's life. And a lot of times for us as writers, it comes through our stories, not just through conversation, but through our stories and sitting down and actually being still with ourselves. So for a long time, I found it hard to be still with myself, but I could replay all these thoughts in my head, but I wasn't letting it out. I wasn't getting it through. And now that I'm, on my healing path even more, it's getting more and more where I have to write. I cannot belabor this anymore.
Yeah. So I have a question. So would you consider yourself more of a poet or a writer, and why?
I'm definitely more of a poet because if I go outside, I can think of a poem right now. If I walk in class, I can think of a poem. If I'm at the mall, at the store, everything inspires me with poetry. And yeah, so I can record on my phone while I'm driving. I can do a poem easily. It just comes to my head. And so I would say I'm definitely more. Why is that? Because God designed me that way. My sister, she said that my first language was poetry. So that's just the way I am. I think it's because I think behind what's behind something. And so when I see a cloud or I see a bird, I don't just see a bird or a cloud. I'll see a picture or I'll see a thought or I'll see colors, So then, my brain is a little different. I say it's an abstract brain. Yeah.
See, I have a brain thing too. It's that because it's crazy. I cannot do that with poetry. My daughter is a poet. I don't know how she does it. She's amazing like that. So I'm gonna have to get y'all connected.
Okay.
But for me, the brain thing for me is I call it a spiderweb brain. It is like recall. So when I see something, I smell something, I immediately think of the last time that thought, smell, or something has come to mind. So as I'm writing a story, my brain is pulling from every concept I've ever heard. So it's though I'm walking on a path between over a canyon, and each time I take a step, the bricks are appearing in front of me. And that's how my brain works. And it's not just with writing, it's creating in general. And I think once we really become, because I can promise you zoom out, that poetry thing is huge. And I think once we start to really practice the gifts that God gave us and we begin to zoom out, we have only touched the surface with our gifts. And we can, and there, a lot of them are, most of them are transferable because they're meant to connect us to other people.
Exactly.
From different parts of life, different parts of life, walks of life. So without that connecting glue, without that transferableness, we won't be able to connect with different people. So I get the brain thing, and it definitely helps with the writing. But in that same vein, it can work against me because I can start bringing up all my mistakes, all the areas that I don't feel that I'm adequate in or creative in. So being able to, again, like you said, sit in silence to practice that, because most of my ideas have come when I'm taking long drives in silence. Like I'm writing in my head. So by the time I sit down, it's already written,
Right. Exactly. I agree with you. I mean, I have so many things on my phone that I need to go back and revise and write down and complete because when I'm driving, it's something about driving, you're just seeing God's nature. I don't know what it is, but your brain is free. You know what I mean? You're not
Yes.
really you're thinking about driving correctly and everything, not running into anybody, but
I
organically, like
hope so.
all these things, like okay, this building symbolizes something. You know, you've been somewhere before and it reminds you of something else. Okay, so this ignites a feeling or an emotion. So exactly. I agree with you.
So when did you, because a lot of people write, but they're not writers.
Hmm.
When did you actually say, hey, I'm a writer? When did you, because you don't fall into being a writer. That means you've got to commit to some things.
Yeah.
When did you take on that title and accept it? Like, hey, I'm a writer.
I think I accepted it in stages. I accepted it in
Mm.
stages. Like I said, in my late teens, I would say 16, 17, 18, I was writing songs almost every day. And I used my sister, she had a guy at the time who had a studio, and I'd go down there and sing, and I'd sing my songs and stuff like that. I'd get on the track or whatever. But as I got older, I feel like I really started accepting in like I would say 2015, like when I moved to Texas, kind of, that's when I really started picking up on my writing, and 2015 and then beyond. And then in stages, because I would notice my notebook would have stuff for 1 year and then like nothing for like 6 months and
Mm.
or nothing for a year almost. And I'd look back at something, I'll say, I haven't written in that long, but then I'd have a journal full of notes, but I wouldn't have anything finished, you know?
Ah.
So it's pieces, these different pieces. And then now I'm putting it all together where it's like, I have to write. I keep saying that I have to write. Like once you know it, you know it. I would say like hitting the ground hard, um, probably 2022, like because I had a really bad breakup, but I was also writing before that. So I would say all the way to 15 till present is when I really realized
Ooh, that's what I'm
that,
talking about.
yeah, that I really realized, okay, because it was a major move from Indiana to Texas. It's a whole different mindset here. You know, it's
Yeah.
busier, it's more people, more opportunities. You know, it's a
This
lot
is
more to get
busier
into.
than where you came
Huh?
from? This is busier than Indiana?
Indiana, where I come from, is a small
Oh,
town. You can get anywhere in
okay.
15 minutes.
Yes. See, it's backwards for me. Where I came from California, so
Oh,
it is slow out here.
oh,
I love the pace.
okay. So we're opposite on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like I would go to Chicago, but Chicago was 2 hours away. But Indiana, where I'm from, my small town, you can get anywhere short, quick, and fast in a hurry. So
Must be
this
nice.
was a
I
big
remember living
major. hmm Yeah, this was a
there.
big major move. But I always envisioned myself in a big town. Like when I was a kid, I would have dreams of tall buildings. We only had one tall building back
Yeah.
home,
Mm.
and it wasn't tall compared to the buildings here. You know, so yeah, 2015. What about you? What year did you realize I have to write?
If I'm being honest, I would say last year.
Last year.
I've been writing since 2019, and uh, I've been writing a lot of books. But I think there's something about committing to that. I had to wrap my mind around. I'm good enough to do this.
Mhm.
It wasn't just a title for me. It was something that I held in high regard because to me, people that are intelligent, emotionally intelligent, and intellectually intelligent, right? They write, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of times, what I've dealt with growing up was my stutter. A lot of people perceive that as me not being as intelligent.
Mhm.
So when I have to read or things like that. So when I finally came to the point where I was like, that can't matter. The message that God's given me to help the next gen, to inspire these kids with story has to be more important. Because up in last year, I had those three books were published. I
Mhm.
published 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and I think 2024, 2023, 2024 were the only 2 years I did not write anything.
Wow.
And I was actually unemployed at that time too, which doesn't make sense why I didn't. But just to your point, those gaps in your journal, this would be a
Mhm.
gap in mine
Mhm.
because sometimes life just hits you hard. And I realized during that period of time that I have to create to revive myself. Like
Ooh,
like because it's like
that's
I don't,
good.
yeah, it's like I don't like the editing process. I don't like I like creating the concept, the story. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, when I'm creating that, I'm redesigning some parts of myself. And there's times where
Exactly.
I was able to write that didn't come from the me that was broken. It came from
Ah,
a me that's more alive, that's more understanding, more patient. And I'm
yes.
like, oh man, I can do this. So I committed. That's why I was able to. I finished 2 books last year,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm publishing them this year. So I committed by I'm gonna complete these 2 books,
Right.
and I'll do the read throughs and everything. So that's my thing. Always be writing, and get the book, get the. Somebody told me what was it? I think done is better than perfect,
Yes.
right? Get it
Mm-hmm.
done, right? Get it done, and so that's really when I committed, when I understood how it really impacted me, and
Mm-hmm.
I think to even take a step back is just being able to communicate a value to people via story,
Mm-hmm.
because when I'm not feeling well, I don't want to communicate, and then when I don't, and every time I don't feel well and I start communicating, writing or telling a story, I
Mm-hmm.
instantly feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So once I realize how it helps me, I'm like, why would I not want to feel better all the time?
Man, you hit so many points. Just to reiterate, well, like I said, if I'm at the park riding and I have, like, for the last 2 weeks, not this week, but the last 2 prior weeks, I was at the park every day riding. Something I had to release, something I had to get off my chest. And I did it through poetry on the top of the hill, had my little blanket, get all these families and stuff. Everybody's interacting, but I'm there by myself. I'm content. I'm okay. um, because we are using the inner child. We're using the present person that's healing. We're using the future person that's going to be whoever they are that we're trying to subscribe, adhere to be, or whatever the word is. I can't think it.
Yeah,
But who we're trying to aspire to be.
yeah,
And you're using all these parts of yourself, and that's how your story or your poem has more life to it, especially for yourself, because a lot of times you're writing for yourself.
you
You know
are.
what I mean? And then you're hoping it blesses someone else. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like, you are definitely using your inner child. And that's why it's so fun, because it's your creativity that either you've hidden it over the years, or it just needs to come out because you've not been using it. It's always going to be there. It's just like if you tap into it and you use it, you know what I mean? And that's what writing is. It's tapping into your inner child, your healed version, and the different versions of yourself along the journey. And that's why it's so fulfilling. You know what I'm saying? And also that's why, like, when you're on the healing journey and something is trying to stop you from writing, you got to realize that's an attack, and you got to fight through that. Because the fact that I've been writing most of this year, it's been hard. It's some hard things I've been going through, but that writing piece, like you said, when you're done with that, you feel so much better. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I went to a therapy session or something.
No, that
I
that's
know
that's
writing
so
might not
true.
be like that for everybody, but it's like that for me.
But I feel like it's like that when you work in your
My
purpose.
student is shaking his
Yeah.
head. Jesse, if he's like that, wait till you get older.
And that right. I think when you start to embrace your
Yeah.
fear. I was reading something a while ago. My daughter had to do something at school, so we were looking up fear, and it was saying when you're getting anxious and your body starts to sweating, it's your body telling you you're preparing to do something important.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying, "Hey, I'm preparing." Like when you're adrenaline rushes because you're about to do something important or something
Yeah.
crazy, right? So it's like though when you start to embrace that fear, and it's not what you thought it was, you start
Mm-hmm.
to go through that. And I think if a lot of us would start to those because not everybody thinks poetry, not everybody's thing is right
Yeah.
is to write, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, "Hey, I'm going to do this because it heals me," no matter how it looks, no
Yeah.
matter who's watching or how much feet, or because you're not trying to find you're not trying to get everybody's approval for it.
Right.
And I think that can be the hard thing sometimes
Yeah.
when you're trying to publish a book and you're really trying to inspire people.
Mm-hmm.
You look to them for gratification at times, and sometimes it's unavoidable because sometimes that's our barometer for
Mm-hmm.
success at times in this world. Unfortunately, money and numbers they do tell a story, right?
Yeah.
But that has to be a part of the process, and we've got to be able to embrace that fear, because fear is
Mm-hmm.
not a bad thing. Fear is just an emotion. It tells
Mm-hmm.
us about ourselves, and when we start embracing those stories about ourselves, we can do those crazy things that we never thought imaginable.
Right. We can either have the fear to stay still and not make progress, or we could have the fear to push ourselves further than what we thought we could do. And like I said, I've been having this book in me, Dream What May, for a long time. And I even have students 2 years ago that at the time, Miss Orr, when are you gonna publish the book? When are you gonna publish the book? Finally published the book 2 years later. And I even went to the middle school and dropped a copy off for one of the students that really did encourage me. And so I don't know if she's on here or not, but I still thank her to this day, because sometimes it's the smallest reminders to remind you to say, hey, get back to healing yourself. Hey, get back to your progress. Hey, get back to what matters to you, what helps you, and find what that is. And for us, it's writing.
Yeah. You brought up the story, the book Dream With Me, which I have got it right here. I was using this book all week, and my daughter was like, "We don't get my book back." I was like, "You gotta wait. I've been using it all week. You gotta wait." So, what is this book?
Yes.
Walk us through the process from inception, like the inspiration, to writing it, to trying to find a publisher, to all of this stuff that, because I think a lot of times people don't know that it's a process.
Yeah.
And it's a learning process every time. Even if you've done it twice, you come back, you're like, man, I've got to you start finding better ways of doing things, right? And you're like, oh, this is that simple. And you start connecting with other people. So what's that process from start to finish with this book? I want to hear. I want to know I want to learn from you, Becky.
Well, this was my first time publishing a book. So I know for me, I had a coworker a couple years ago who came to work at my school, and she had a published book. And she was an African-American woman, a Black American woman. And I said, you know what? I've seen this before, but for some reason with her, I feel like because I've seen it through her, I know I can do it. So I started inquiring about it through her, and she was giving me some websites and different people I could check out, but I didn't have the book written yet. I will tell you, I was sitting, again, I mentioned Ford dealership. I was getting my car fixed. I would keep my notebook with me. For some reason, this season of my life, this story just came up out of my spirit. It just came about. And it was like, I didn't get the title Dream What May right away. But again, I was writing to myself as a child. Dream what may. So you can have the dreams that you thought you couldn't have. I basically had this vision of, you know what, as a kid, you always wanted to write. You would go to school, elementary school, and they would say, put the paper back, put the cardboard back. Because I would always try to get cardboard box and make, I would try to make stuff. And I'm supposed to be doing my work, but I'm over here making up stuff over here. We had typewriters. I used to ask, can I use a typewriter to type my book? So I literally have an old book, India.
Wow.
And I was just going to show the audience, just to show you. There's a typewriter. It's old.
That is amazing.
It's great. It's my element. I have several books like this, and I'm saying that to say that I always was a writer, but I didn't know I could do it. You know what I mean? I didn't know I could do it in my adulthood. It was like that idea just went away. All of a sudden, when it came back in floods. So I was just writing. I would wake up in the middle of the night, and I would add to my notebook. And the book is not long, but I didn't even know I was writing it in poetic format until it was done. And I literally laughed. Yeah, I literally laughed when it was over because I was like, Becky, some of this stuff is rhyming and it's got a flow to it. It's not a story, it's a poem. And so, I mean, I'm telling you, it just came out of waves. I didn't like sit and ponder about it. When it came to me, I would write. When the words would come to me, I would write. And then the publishing phase, like I said, I spoke to a coworker and she gave me a few people to reach out to. I sent my manuscript to a couple of people and I got the yes. And so then from there, it was back and forth emails. And I had reached out to an artist that I really admire in Houston, Andrea Vinson. And she was right on it. We met at Barnes & Noble. And we able to collaborate. I brought her pictures of my family because I said, you know what, I don't really know who would be in this book, but I just know that I got to have my family represented on my first book. And that's the only way I can think of. So my niece is on the cover and everybody in the book are family members. Did you find me on the page? Where am I in the book?
Let me see. I didn't. Now I know that these are family members. This is on this page. Oh, so that's you?
That's me.
Oh my God. Okay.
But everybody is a family member in the book. So yeah. So that's how I illustrated the book. I said, you know what? I don't have any ideas, but the only idea that comes to my head is to use my family members because, again, I'm so appreciative to be the first one to do a children's book. So why not honor them? And so then once I got all the illustrations done, that was a really fun process to see that come alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, then it was just back and forth with the publishing company about edits and all this. I pretty much edited the book because it's short. So I edited the book. I'm a reading writing teacher. That was no problem. But if I had a book long like yours, I probably would pay for it to be edited, you know? But yeah, the process was kind of smooth. But again, I can't think of anything that majorly set me off except for just having to save up to pay for it as a teacher. I
Yeah.
paid, paid for it to be published. And I think the most exciting part was, the first thing that I had at Barnes and Noble, just being able to see people with their hands on it. You
That's
know what I
awesome.
mean? Yeah.
Awesome.
What about
Yeah.
you? What's been the process for you?
So so after I got the idea for my wife to write the story, interestingly enough, and I like how you said you wrote it in poetry format and you didn't know it. It's like you were prepared this entire time to write the book.
Yeah.
Like I've never written a book. I didn't start to study how to write a book until my second book.
Mhm.
But I've seen so many movies and shows that I wrote in a story arc unknowingly,
Mhm.
kind of like how you wrote in poetry.
Mhm.
I wrote in 3 acts, like a movie. I wrote
Yeah.
in 3 acts perfectly, and I
Wow.
didn't know that. Like you, I named every character has a significant name. Somebody in my life or
Mhm.
a family member. So I
Mhm.
paid some homage there too. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So process for me was I actually found a black artist in Europe.
Mhm.
He's really dope. He's actually working on my cover for this next book right now as we speak. I told him, listen, every time I make a book for this series, you're going to be the artist for it. I drew, so I think I posted on TikTok not too long ago. I drew some weird, funky photo, and the magic he did. I need to frame that photo. The magic he did, I was like, it did not look like that. Like,
Yeah.
where's this? I have this book. It did not look like this. It didn't look like this at all. And the idea that I wanted this I wanted to kind of to show no matter how you're feeling, you're just one step away from where you're gonna be.
Right.
And every single cover, that's the fun part. I was able to design it with every kind of color I wanted. And to me, that was the most important part. The story is important, but when you're writing for kids, that that photo, that cover, it has to be important. It's got to mean something, you know.
Mhm.
So after I wrote the entire book out, uh, St- uh, Stacy Joshua, I actually shared one of her videos today. She has locks. She's a beautiful woman. She's a friend of she's one of my closest friends. Her husband and I were really close friends. She's actually a college professor. She edits my books as well.
Okay.
So yeah, she's really good. So once I got that done, got the editing part. Now the rewriting part is the process I don't like.
The
I don't.
revising, yeah.
I sometimes I just wish I could just come up with the perfect idea, step back, we're done, publish. Nope, we
Mhm.
can't do that. But
Nope.
again, that's that. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. I mean, and they're not even
What was it?
mistakes. It's okay to
Happy
take input.
accidents.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not even happy habits. It's a part of the process, right?
Yeah, part of the
It's
process. Hmm.
it's like when you're riding a bike. You don't call it a mistake when they fall, right? They're
Yeah.
learning, right?
Yeah.
So all this feedback that I'm getting, I learned how to welcome feedback during this whole process.
Hmm.
So I got all the feedback. So, I had to change the story in so many ways. But once I got that, because the story was finished in a month and a half, but I had to obviously change a lot of grammatical things. Grammatical? I think it's grammatical.
No. First. Hmm.
Grammatical things, and I had to fill some plot holes. Once that was done and the artwork was done, it was I self published through Amazon, and I did that because I didn't know what else to do. So and, and I couldn't do a publish. I didn't really understand the process, so I
Hmm.
went ahead and did that. And I actually, the first time I got the book out, I went to the where did I go? It was a heritage festival in 2020.
Okay.
No, it had to be right before COVID, 2020, right before COVID, and that's where I met Teresa at
Oh, okay.
for the museum.
Yeah.
I went out there. I sold these books. I introduced the people to the books, and ironically, a lot of boys were like, "Where are the boys? What about the boys?
Yep.
What about the?" And because I'm a girl dad, so I was like, I just have these, and the way that I wrote the book again, it was not in a way that I intended, but it left the right amount of space for me to intertwine the other story. So they
Mm.
happen at the same time. So a lot of stuff happened during this writing process that I can't explain, and it just again there's that recall. So when I wrote the second book, I remembered those holes where it could perfectly fit. And you know, once I mean, now I order the books from Amazon. I still self-publish for
Mm-hmm.
now. You know, we'll see how it goes, because the plan is after the final book, I'm going to turn this into a comic book series.
Wow.
So we'll see how that's going to go. But that was my process, again, kind of seamless like yours. The only thing I
Mm-hmm.
didn't like was again, I'm not a fan of the editing process because it's so tedious, but it's also very important.
Oh, truly,
Yeah,
truly important. So I'm glad you were able to have all those processes work out for you. Yeah,
yeah,
because your book is longer, so it's going to take more. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So what part of the process do you enjoy the most?
The the beginning, getting the ideas out, getting it down, the creativity part, not so much the revising and editing, like you said. That's to fine tune it. That's to fine tune it. I definitely like getting feedback from people, kind of seeing what people thought. So I would read it to my son. I read it to a few others, and just getting people's feedback and seeing how I could tweak things, or if anything. Um, just the excitement of it too, the excitement of putting it all together. So what about you?
I would say creating. What's the best way to describe it? Uh, Finding a new piece to the story. That
Mm,
and it's like you have this idea, and the idea is great, but that doesn't excite me. The idea doesn't excite me. Uh,
okay.
build, Building it excites me. So
Hmm.
when I see a piece that I didn't recognize was there, and I'm like, oh wow, I'm smart than myself, and I'm putting these pieces together. When it's coming together, that's what excites me the most. Because anybody, I mean, ideas aren't hard to come by,
Mm,
but when we can execute those ideas in a way that it can be translated, so we can translate to a poetry book
yeah.
or any type of literature. That's when you're getting somewhere, and to
Okay.
be able to do that. And I read it to my daughter, and they're excited. I read it to my wife, and she's
Hmm.
excited, because my wife, she will not let my head get big. She's gonna tell me how it is, and I appreciate that.
Exactly.
She was like, "No, that's not gonna change that." But that's the best part about it, is finding these pieces as I'm
Hmm.
going along the journey to build the story as I'm going, because I always start with the end of the story. Even as I write the book, that's how the
Hmm.
idea comes to me. I have the idea at the end of the story, and
Okay.
then I start from the beginning, and my goal is to get to the end. Like, I have the end of the story. When my ideas come, I know how I want it to end. And then everything, we just start going backwards. And that's actually how I write my books. I begin with the end of the book, and then I just kind of tell the
Yeah.
story from there, because that essentially is the first thought I got when I got the idea. But that's my favorite part about writing, is that part of the concept.
Oh, I love that. What's something you think you would do differently on your next book? I know you're going to publish what, one or two books this year.
That is the goal.
It's
I
mine.
want one for
It's my goal
sure.
too as well.
Yeah, one, I'm publishing one for sure.
Hmm.
I'm targeting Juneteenth. That's the day I'm
Okay.
targeting.
Okay.
Uh, and this book was actually, I think it's the best one I've ever written.
Wow.
The tone of it is different. I can see that I've grown as a writer, but
Hmm.
also the time of the book is older. So I mean, they have swords, they have a kingdom,
Yeah.
right? This is a prequel to the entire book, so there's no kids in the story.
Okay.
It's still for teens and kids, right?
Hmm.
But it is a different tone that I was able to write in, still be entertaining, to set this final book up.
Okay.
So what I would do differently, to get back to your question, uh, I would challenge. I would continue to write in different genres, and
That's good.
because I realized I'm actually working on a screenplay with with my god sister, and this is something totally different. I've never even considered. It's kind of like a suspense horror
Oh,
type deal,
okay.
but just to continue to challenge myself to write different types of writing, because I don't want to be one dimensional. But like, as
Right.
we mentioned before, there's parts of myself I don't know yet, right?
Exactly.
There's, I like when I'm if I can write, because I actually want to write a musical someday, right?
Hmm.
And that's
Good.
a part of my, I mean, I'm not a musician anymore,
Okay.
but that's something I think would be challenging. And I'm like, I want to know how I respond to this challenge. And then as you do that, you start to really find out, hey, I'm good at this. Hey, I need to get healing in this area, right? So being able to tell myself to write different genres and things like that, that's what I'm going to do differently.
Okay.
Like just like the Christian dystopian team, but I did not think I could do that, and still make it entertaining,
Right.
bring the Bible into it, create a concept that is a triple entendre. That's the concept. It's
Yeah.
deep, but to be able to do that and not make it too complicated, I was like, I can't believe I did that. It surprised me to know
Mm-hmm.
that my gift is my gift, right?
That's true.
Once I turn it on, it works. I don't have to try it. I've never experienced writer's block a day in my life. I have not.
That's
I sit
awesome.
down and it works. And just to continue to try different things to grow. How about
I
you?
agree. No, I
How
was gonna say
about you,
I
Becky?
agree with you on that. Like I'm trying to do different types of poems. So when I say types of poems, I know I first started off with like letters to God. So all my poems would be like me talking to God. And then it transitioned to like things that I've been through that I triumphed over or still trying to conquer through. So I would say a lot of trauma type poetry.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, happier, little happier poems or whatever. But I was like, okay, I don't always want to go off from my perspective. How do I shift my poems to talk about like it's the bird talking or it's the
Wow,
ant
that's huge.
talking or it's the
That's
sky
big.
talking? Why do I have to always keep saying I? So I tried to challenge myself last week at the park to not put I in any of my poems. Try a different perspective.
That's
And it's so hard
powerful.
because when you write for yourself,
Wow.
you how do you delete yourself out the equation? So that was
Wow.
challenging for me. But I
That
do want to
that's
try other
deep.
poems that are more lighthearted, especially for kids, because my next book I wanted to be a children's poetry. Then I also want to publish my own poetry that I've been working on over the years.
Wow.
Those are two books.
That is deep, Becky. Let's unpack that. So first of all, you said trying to find a way to tell a story, tell a poem
Mm-hmm.
from a perspective that's not mine, and trying to cut I out of it.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean, Becky? I know what it means at a surface, but I just feel like it's deep. Like you just said that, it just ran off.
I just
Like what? Like
I just feel like sometimes I feel like my poetry is selfish to myself and my journey. Like, okay, when are you, like you said, when are we going to be, well, I don't know if you said it, but we're talking about healing. When am I going to get done with this phase of my healing? I keep talking about the same thing. Okay, you
mm,
feel like you've gone through this in your childhood. You've gone through this in your young adulthood. When are you going to be done about that phase? Are you truly healed from that? So you can start talking about other things, more lighthearted things, more funnier things, other parts of your personality, like you said, things that haven't come out yet in your poetry. I want to have different phases of myself in my poetry, not just, oh boy, she's gone through a lot. So, and I know that's the
that's
stereotype of
awesome.
poetry, but there's other poets out there that don't just talk about what they've been through. So I'm not saying I'll stop that because it's definitely still healing me, but I definitely want to branch out and feel like, what does that feel like to not just be, I don't want to say self-absorbed because it's not self-absorbed. It's just like when you think of a poem, you naturally think of yourself. For me, I do. But some people, when they think of poetry, they'll think of everything else is around them. I think of myself and then everything as around me, how it's helped me or healed me or whatever. But I just want to like go from the perspective of the caterpillar. You know what I mean? What is he thinking?
That, that that's amazing. No, I think that is beautiful. That's amazing because it's like it's our journey is absolutely a gift, right?
Mhm.
But to be able to see our journey from others, if someone were to look at your journey, one or two things I believe might happen. The one thing will be like, man, I can't believe they made it through that. The other thing
Mhm.
will be like, I made it through that too, and I'm glad they made it too.
Yes.
I feel like those are the two things, and I feel like so many times we can't obtain those points of view while on our journey. So I love what you said. Like if you were to look at yourself through the eyes of a caterpillar,
Yeah.
would the caterpillar think you're having a hard time? Right? No, I mean just it's that
He still
simple.
got
But
some
it's like
struggles though.
yeah, no, for real. No, but you're right though.
But I
Like
want to
like
like go
like
past the struggles of everything. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I see some comments says think about writing from other people's testimonies and journeys, and that's a really good step. So I've been trying to read other poems and other people's ideas of poetry, and then of course like that example there, like start understanding other people's testimonies and kind of do some poetry that I'm inspired by other people. That's really good.
yeah, and I think like a community of not just creatives of like artists, like I know a
Mhm.
lot of people that
Mhm.
write, but I know musicians, I know poets.
Mhm.
I know these other people that are creatives, and because
Mhm.
I think that in what we're creating,
Mhm.
just like you said, perspective, somebody may not catch the rhythm of your poem, and it may sound like a song to them,
Yeah.
right? In your book, they may read this with because
Mhm.
they hear things. And I don't know how to describe it, but I
Mhm.
think having people around us will help us get to that place where we're able to glean perspectives from other people, because it can be so easy to become self-absorbed in our journey. I know that when I'm quiet, I'm self-absorbed in my journey. This creative mind, I hang out in
Mhm.
my head for hours, and it's not good sometimes, right?
Right.
So being able to be surrounded with folks that experience that, and
Mhm.
they can pull you to a place like, oh, let me see how that works.
Present.
Let me try that.
Mhm. Keep you present, because
Yeah,
sometimes the things that we do know will have you sitting here
yeah,
in front of everybody, but you're alone in your own mind, and it's like, okay, you've missed out on the opportunity to connect with somebody that you could have spoke life to or received life. And so yeah, it's important to be around the right community of people, and the older I get, the more I understand that. Yeah, that's
yeah.
so
No,
true.
you're right. So,
Mhm.
what is next for Becky? I know you said you're writing two things. You
Mhm.
don't got to
Yeah.
give us details, but
Mhm.
what as we get ready to wrap up? What is next for you? And what two questions? What's next?
Uh-huh.
And what do you expect 2026 to look like for you?
Ooh, God, better than 25, better than 24. Up in here, up, up, up. It's from the up from here. What's coming up is I'll kind of give a small little example. I was at an event where I did some poetry. I was invited to do poetry, and I had my book with me that I keep all my poems. Like when I finalize something, I'll put it in this final book, and it's handwritten. Everything is handwritten because I'm a handwriting
Wow.
person. I haven't typed the manuscript up yet. But the thing is, I didn't have that idea at all. I'm just carrying my book because I'm not like a reciter or a person that memorizes everything. I'm more
Yeah,
like a teacher that does a read aloud with my poetry. You know what
that's
I mean?
awesome.
Theatrical or whatever, with the feelings and the emotions with my little book. So I got an email like a day after or two after, and a lady emailed me. She said, "You know what? When I saw your poetry, I saw you take an excerpt from there. It really blessed me. Your book that you had, and she said the book that I had and the excerpt that I took." I said, "Wait a minute. Does she think that I have a book? This is a published book." So that's what made me think, why don't I publish my poetry? So I will tell you that yes, my adult poetry about my life and about things that I've experienced. That's what I want to publish this year. And then I have not started, but I can quickly have some ideas that are coming to me about children's poetry. And it's going to be kind of on the lines of, like you said, self-esteem, building kids up, affirmation type poetry. And so those are the two pieces that I would love to have, that I'm going to have, I'm going to speak into existence, published this year. And it'll be towards the end of the year.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
now, what's your dream for 2026?
Oh, yes.
What's what's
Okay.
what's your I you yeah you ain't gonna skate by. I want to hear this one. I want to be inspired.
Okay. My dream, honestly, I'm still on a journey of more peace in my life. And my son is going to college. I want to be in a place where at any time when he needs me, which I'm always available, I just want to be more mentally there for the
Mm.
people that love me and for the people that I love. I have poured into vampires.
Wait,
I have
what?
poured into people. What I say is that they have zapped my energy. I have allowed myself to be around people that have drained my energy and not poured anything
Mm.
back into my life.
Oh my
So
God.
my
Preach,
son
sister.
and people that matter to me,
Yeah.
I'm going to show up more in 2026. I know my son would never say I haven't, because he's like, "You're the best mom." And that's sweet and everything. Wrote me beautiful cards and things. But as a mom, you always want to be better. And you're never going to stop being, from when they were little. You still want to be as whatever that they need, and I feel like he's going to need me more because he's becoming a young man. He is a young man, becoming more and more of a young man. So I want to be more of my healed version. I want to be more fit. I want to get back to the gym. Doctor said cut the sugar. I got to cut the sugar.
Yeah, I'm
So
listening.
that's all going to allow me to be a better writer. I do want to keep writing. I do want to keep being inspired. I want to put myself in intentional places and spaces with folks like yourself and like myself, and grow, because you got to be around people that are where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? So I want to put myself in intentional spots and places that grow me as a person, grow me as a writer. I want my faith to continue to grow. Of course, I want to get closer to God, draw near to him so he can draw nearer to me. So those are the top things that I can think of right now. What about you? What's on your journey for 2026?
All right. So let me start with 2025.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to I do got a book fair coming out. I told you that on Juneteenth at Discovery Green. I was thinking about releasing the book there, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be patient. So that's actually something that I'm not comfortable doing, that kind of stuff, you know. But it's part of the journey. So the goal is to publish the prequel to this book by the end of June. Target date is Juneteenth right now, but we'll see how that goes. Going to start fully promoting probably in the next 2 weeks. I haven't promoted it all yet, the book. Then after that event in June, I will, as I'm promoting that, I will be finalizing the prequel, not the prequel, the dystopian teen book. Because my daughter read it, she said, "This is great. This part happens too fast, Dad. You need to slow down and put more meat on the bone." I was like, "Yes, ma'am." Yeah, so I've got to go back and add some to that. So the target date for that is going to be, I want to say, end of fall, toward the end of the year, and I want to kind of do it around Christmas time while kids are out. I'm trying to be intentional about my release dates. I'm trying to be intentional about everything.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to do it around that time. And my big dream that I pray that it can come to fruition by 2026 is that once I release this this fourth edition, because I'll be working on that probably toward the end of the year. I've already started, but the fourth one, I'm gonna change the title because I'm gonna introduce a character that's gonna go into comic book. That's the goal, because I've actually had a big demand from the comic book world.
I'm sure.
But I'm trying to get done with the series so I can start a series of comics, because I don't know that I could keep both up. I was doing research on comic books. They're not as easy to publish as these. It is a lot of artwork, and you want it to be a certain way. So that's the goal, to transition into that. If God says the same, that's the goal for next year. And you know, just to continue to show for my family in the ways that they inspire me, to inspire them as well. Because I again, like I said before, they are the reason why I am as creative as I am. Every single idea I've had, every promotional idea that I've posted, my daughters are filming it. I'm teaching them editing. They're doing all that with me. So they are my inspiration. They are not my speed bump. They are my yellow light sometimes. So I'll say that. But that's the big thing for me going into next year. Just like you said, be present and really be grateful. But yeah,
I love that.
That's it for me. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for you. I know great things are happening and going to continue to happen for you and your family. So thank you for having me and having this conversation this evening.
Yes, same to you, Becky. I look forward to doing more content with you. It's been a very fun week. Very fun.
It has. I love your ideas. And so the next interaction, the next collaboration, I plan to start learning how to edit my videos as well. Have some cool videos like you.
I love it.
Oh, Jesse said he loves comics. My son Jesse
there we go.
said he loves comics. So yeah, it's on the way, Jesse. Hold tight, okay? Gonna be some around the corner. All right.
Thank you all for your time. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, same to you. Bye.